Hey, this is Mike of Boy Meets Robot, and today I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of the LSDJ.SAV file from the title track of my album, The Robots Will Kill Us All. I'm really excited to be doing this video because pretty much everything I know about LSDJ I learned from looking at other people's save files and videos of people kind of walking through some of their songs and showing the way they use the program. So I'm just excited to be giving back and kind of sharing some of the things that I've been doing in my music. So first thing I'd say, if you haven't listened to the whole track, I would pause here and go check that out. I'll put a link down below so you can do that. Also, I would note I'm going to assume you have kind of a basic familiarity with LSDJ, how to navigate around it, create instruments, and kind of the basics of that. So if you haven't done that, I would do some kind of more beginning tutorials before you jump in here. But if you're starting to learn the different commands and want to kind of see how they're used in different ways to make different sounds, I think you're in the right place. So what I was thinking of doing is I'll just play through each chain of the tune, and then we'll listen to all the channels together, and then I'll break down each one and kind of talk about what's going on in each channel. So here's the first chain. This is the intro. Okay, so this is supposed to sound like we're inside a computer or whatever. So start with the pulse channels. Real simple. We've just got this instrument playing a square wave, and I add this vibrato command to just make it a little dirtier sound. And then the second pulse channel is the same thing, but with the transposed down a fourth. So we get, and you put those together, you get this kind of computer hum. Let me mute the other channels for a second. So just that. And then in the very last phrase, now we have these pitch commands to pitch up and the E commands to start crescendoing. So you'll get, building into that intro there. On the noise channel, I have this kind of cool random noise sound going on. And the way I got that to happen, I created this noise instrument. And in the table, first I set groove of 0. So that's the default groove, which is 6 ticks. So each frame of the table is going to take 6 ticks. So basically each frame will be a 16th note. Then on the next step, we have a sweep command, FF, altering both digits of the shape parameter by F. And then we have a Z command. And what the Z command does is it repeats the previous command, but with a random value. And so you can define how much of a range. So when I have it set to FF, that means that each digit of the S command, it's going to repeat with a value between 0 and F. So we're basically getting random S commands. So, every 16th note, it's changing to a different random noise shape value. And then in the other column, we do the same thing, but with the O command. So we'll start with, O to the OL, panning to the left side. And then the Z command is going to randomly select between panning left, right, center, and muting both channels. So you hear it kind of bouncing around. So you get that kind of random glitchiness. And then again, in the last phrase, we're starting to get a little louder. Also notice I use the M commands. So the M command sets the output level for the Game Boy as a whole. And you can set it between 0 and 7, though 0 doesn't mean silent. It just, you can think of here as 0 would be 1 and 7 is an 8. But anyway, so I set it to 5, to start a little bit quieter. And then as we get closer to the start of the actual track, we bring it up to 6 and then 7 getting louder. Okay, and then most of what's going on here is in the wave channel. So first thing you hear are these kind of glitchy computer noises. And what these are is I made a wave channel instrument. You can see it's set to play just once. So it'll each wave synth creates a series of 16 waveforms, and I set the length to F, which means it'll play all 16, and it'll just play through them once and then stop. And speed 2 means it's going to hold each one for 2 ticks. Yeah, it's going to hold each one for 2 ticks and then stop. The synth parameters, it's just a saw wave with those values. It's nothing too interesting. And then I add a pitch command on it, so it's going to do a pitch drop. And you hear that as it gets to the bottom of the range of the wave channel, it kicks back up to the top, so you get that higher pitch sound. And I'm just going to use this in a few different ways to make kind of random sounds. So this instrument is the same thing, but it's panned to the right. This instrument was panned to the left. I believe, yeah. And now I pitch it up. And then this one, same thing, starting on high pitch, going down. I do some more of these, this kind of random glitchy sound. I'm using a table. So the pitch going up. And then I'm using these O commands to alternate between panning left, muting, panning right, muting, and then hopping back to the start. So you hear it kind of cutting in and out and going from left to right. And then these ones, just some more little pitch commands there. All right, so that's one thing that's going on in the wave channel. The other thing is I'm using the speech synthesizer instrument to do some speech. And if you haven't played around with this before, it's actually really cool and kind of impressive that Johan put so much work into adding this to LSDJ. The way it works is each note, each pitch, you define as a word and enter in the different phonemes that you're going to use. So here, execute. You hear the x, ek, u, ut. And this is where you really need to use the manual to figure out which phonemes you need, because even when you have, one letter, you can have, 3 or 4 different phonemes depending on what comes before or after it. And then in this column, you're going to set the length, how many ticks it holds each phoneme for, and you just kind of have to experiment to figure out what feels right. Generally, though, the vowel sounds you want to hold longer, so you hear the q. Those ones are held a little longer than the consonant sounds. All right, so that's what's going on in this little intro to the tune. Let's get to the track proper and listen to the next chain. All right, so I'll start with the wave channel. I pretty much always program the wave channel first. One, because it is where my kick drum and my bass is, which kind of forms the foundation of the tune, but also because it has the least flexibility in terms of dynamics. It's pretty easy to adjust the pulse channels louder and softer to match where the wave channel is at, but the wave channel doesn't give you a lot of flexibility to change your dynamic. All right, so here's what's going on in the wave channel. All right, so I'm using basically 2 different instruments here. This one is a kick followed immediately by the bass. So if you don't know this trick already, it's really handy since the kick drum and the bass have to share one channel. When you combine them into one instrument, you don't really notice that the bass is starting a little. It's not right on the beat. You hear that kick drum and then the bass kind of seamlessly comes in after that. And the way that we do that is I'm going to set this wave instrument synth 0. The synth I use for kick drum is a square wave, but then I hand draw it. So I just take this little notch out right here, just because I find just a plain pulse wave, plain square wave, the kick drum just, I don't know, it sounds I'm like a little cheesy to me. When you give it this notch, it makes it a little noisier, a little harsher sounding, a little louder. So I think that makes a better kick. And the table I'm going to use on this is, first I'm going to use transpose command. How many octaves is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. So transposing the note up 4 octaves, doing a fast pitch bend down with this P command. And then I'm going to set the transposition to 0, so it'll be at the written pitch, and use this L command. The L command bends the pitch into the note and then just holds it there. So this is going to stop the note from continuing to pitch down. And then in the other column, I'm going to just use this O command so that it's panned left for just 1 tick, and then center. That just gives it a little extra pop at the beginning. And then at the same time that we stop the pitch bend here on step 5, we use this F command, which advances the waveform. So here by, I guess it would be 16, 1, 0 is 16. And the wave that I'm going to use for that, for the bass sound, is this. So it's a triangle wave with the volume set to 6, 0. And it looks like this. And I find, I can't remember where I found this bass sound. Someone shared this online. But I think it works really well because it has a little bit of that triangle channel NES kind of sound, but just like a more meaty, louder sound, more low end. Sometimes the triangle channel just kind of sounds wimpy on an NES. This has a little more meat to it. So that's what gives you this. And then the other instrument here is just the bass sound without the kick starting it. So I'll put that together, you get. And I also have a kick here by itself, which is basically the same table, but instead of using that L command and transpose 0, I just use the K to kill the sound. All right, so that's what's going on in the wave channel. Let's take a look at the noise channel, and I'll say I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on these noise channel instruments because I also have a tutorial on making noise channel percussion where I go into a little more depth. So if you're really interested, I would check that out. But let's just listen to what the noise channel is doing. All right. So only 2 or 3, I guess 3 or 4 different instruments here. So there's a crash sound, which is just using the transpose column to bring the noise shape down. And again, I wrote this, more than a year ago now, before I had learned everything that I know and I talk about in that noise channel video. So if I was doing this again, I would do it a little different, using sweep commands. But it's the same kind of effect. So sweeping down through the noise channel shapes to make a crash. Then this sound, the snare, is kind of the opposite. So I start with a lower shape value, and then transposing higher and higher towards the end of the note. Then this sound, the hi-hat, is just a noise channel sound with fast decay. So 6-1 gives you a fast decay to the sound. And then this open hi-hat sound, envelope 8-2, gives you a longer decay, a more sustained sound. And then at the end of the phrase, I do this R command, which I really like doing on hi-hats. If you haven't used the R command, the first digit, I'll just pull this up so it'll show us. The first digit tells you what the volume does. So setting it to 3 is going to make it increase each time the note is retriggered. And the second digit sets how fast the note is going to retrigger. So when it's set to 3, it'll retrigger every 3 ticks, which in this case would give us 30-second notes. And then here we have this longer crash sound, which is the same thing as that first crash. It just keeps going down more transpose values. And again, if you watch my noise channel tutorial, there's a better way to do this than with this transpose table here, but it's the same kind of effect. All right, so that's the noise channel. In the pulse channels, we have this. So I think of this kind of sound of the 2 pulse channels playing together in thirds or sometimes in fourths as like a real quintessential chiptune sound. You hear it in a lot of games and a lot of the Mega Man games. It's in a lot of I Fight Dragons tracks that, who I have been influenced a lot by. So the instrument I'm using here is real simple. The first pulse channel is panned to the left, and in the table we just have going from a square wave to 1/4 duty cycle to 1/8 duty cycle, and that just gives the note like a little pluck at the beginning. You can see I'm using these pitch bends to pitch up, and the L command, remember the L command slides into the note that you have defined there and then holds it. And you see some of these notes I don't have the instrument set, and what that means is that it won't re-trigger the instrument. You won't get that plucking sound there. It's just kind of sustained. Using that cool vibrato sound. And then this table is just a chromatic scale down, groove 0-3. I like to set the grooves to how many ticks I want them to be. So groove 1, 1 tick, groove 2, groove 3, 3 ticks. So that just means that each frame here is 3 ticks or 30-second notes. And I have the V command just to cancel out that vibrato that was before that. So again, here's an instance where I'm not using that instrument because I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear each note plucked. I just want it to connect them together. And ending with this little pitch up at the end of the phrase, I like that. That sound, those kind of like laser sounds, are just fast pitch bends down. You hear that sound effect in a lot of games. And this sound, you can see I'm only triggering the note on the beat and starting them with those L commands to give it a little scoop into the note. And then here, this is that just chromatic scale table leading into an L command to scoop into that note. And then the second pulse channel is just the same exact instrument, but panned to the right and a third lower. One thing I'll note is that pitch commands, the higher your starting note is, the faster the pitch is going to bend. So like right here, and the way it works is for each octave, it doubles the speed of the pitch bend. So right here, these notes, oops, because I'm starting on D7, it's going to go at half the speed as these notes on D8 if I were to use the same P command. So for the higher notes, I set a lower value, PE8, and for these notes, a more severe pitch bend, PD0, but they're going to end up bending at the same speed. So, that's a handy thing to remember. I'm not sure exactly why that happens, but just the higher you go up, the faster pitch bends happen. All right, so that's the intro. Let's listen to the first verse. Oop, I gotta unmute. There we go. All right, so let's look at the wave channel. Not a ton going on here. It's kind of the same kick and bass instruments as we just heard. Like those L commands kind of slide in between the notes. And, you know, when you hear it by itself, you can kind of sometimes hear that when the kick and bass are together, that bass is a little late. But with everything together, you don't really notice that. On the noise channel, more of the same noise channel instruments. You can see I'm using a lot of E commands to humanize this. You know, it's not just the same volume for every single note. It just makes it a little more engaging. There's that R command at the end there. And then the pulse channel, I only use the second pulse channel, and this is a sound I use to kind of simulate what the horn section would be doing. You know, this is kind of like the ska part of the song. So this is what the horn section would be playing. All right, so that instrument is this table here. So first, I'm going from 0 to 1 octave up transposition, and then H command just hopping back. So going back and forth between the written pitch and up an octave. And then in the next column, going from the 1/4 duty cycle to square wave to 1/8 duty cycle, and then hopping back up. So kind of shifting between all the three different duty cycle sounds. And that just gives it, you know, this kind of shifting sound. And then using that with the C command, I really like combining octave changes, octave transpositions with C commands. Because if this was just, if I didn't have that octave transposition, you know, the way the C commands works is it, instead of playing just the one note, it plays three different pitches. It plays the note that's written, plus the note transposed by the first digit, so up 3 half steps, a minor third, and then the second digit up 7 half steps, a fifth. So here we get a minor triad. But without that extra octave in there, so here I took that transpose out, it sounds pretty puny. It's just, you know, those three notes. But when we add that in, you know, it's a much bigger sound. Using those K commands to make kind of a staccato articulation. All right. Then the kind of the pre-chorus section, we get this. All right. So the wave channel is more of the same kick and bass instruments. Those L commands. And, you know, you can see I'm using these M commands to change the volume of the master Game Boy output. And I think this is really something that not enough people take advantage of, especially because, you know, the wave channel, if you're just using one sound primarily for your bass on the wave channel, it's going to always be the same volume. You know, you can use the E command, but the E command only gives you 100%, 50%, 25%, or 0. So it doesn't do a lot of subtle changes. But I typically, after I finish a piece, I'll go back and add M commands to each section, kind of making them slightly softer or louder. So the verse, I had an M5, right? So down a little bit. Then this pre-chorus, now we're at M6, and then when we get to the chorus, it's going to be at 7. So just to give it a little direction. All right, then in the noise channel, again, kind of more of the same sounds. And we get to the end, we get there's that long crash instrument. Again, lots of E commands to give it a little direction. All right, and then on the pulse channels, the first pulse channel is doing these arpeggios. And the way I'm doing that is this is just my lead instrument again. And then I would do this table. So if you don't already know, the A command calls a table. And it's just going through a major triad. So up third, fifth, up an octave root, third, fifth, up 2 octaves root, and then back down. Fifth, third root, fifth, third root. And then I set the groove to 2, so 2 ticks for each step. So this ends up being 30-second note triplets, if you care about that sort of thing. And then I'm alternating between instrument 0, which is my lead pan to the left, and instrument 1, lead pan to the right. And then we keep getting faster and faster. And there's that those 16th notes where I'm just triggering the note on the beat. And then the last part, the fall. This is that table that's just a chromatic scale, 30-second notes going down. And then the second pulse channel, just using that brass instrument again. But now it's this, I made a duplicate of the instrument, but changed the envelope. So we start at volume 1, and then C is going to give us a crescendo, just to give that a little direction. And then those 16th notes are played together with the first pulse channel, just, a third apart or a fourth apart, which gives you this. And same thing, that chromatic scale, a third apart. All right, and then let's look at the chorus. Oop, Okay, so more of the same on the wave channel. As promised, M command to 7. And lots of those L commands just give it a little more character. And it's still more of the same on the noise channel as well. That long crash. All right, and the pulse channels, the first pulse channel is doing these arpeggios. And all those is just going from the left lead to the right right lead sound. So you get this kind of like echoing from left to right sound to the notes. And then in the second pulse channel, we have our brass section. Using those K commands to space the notes a little bit. And there's our 16th note, 2 pulse channels and thirds there. Ending with a pitch bend up. All right. So from here, there's not too much else to go over because the second verse pretty much repeats the first one. The only thing we add are some little tom sounds in the first pulse channel. So let's listen to that. So this is kind of like the Mega Man style toms, though I believe in the Mega Man games it's usually the triangle channel on the NES. And I have one instrument for a tom pan to the left and one for the right. And all you do to get this sound is square wave and then a pitch bend down. And you can experiment with how sharp of a pitch bend and things like that, and just moving it around to different pitches to get different sounds. Okay, and then the rest of that chorus is the same thing. Then we get to the guitar solo. It just repeats the wave and noise channel from the verse and adds a little bit of that brass background. All right, and then my favorite part, the chiptune guitar solo. we get this. So this is sort of my attempt to copy the style of, if you've ever heard the Silver Surfer NES soundtrack by Tim Follin, there's some just really amazing, quasi guitar solos in that. So it's a real like encyclopedia of tricks you can use in writing chiptune music. So I'm trying to kind of copy that sound. And each two measures, the lead sound is gonna change here. So the lead is actually in the second pulse channel, and the first two measures sound like this. And that sound is just going from the square wave to quarter duty cycle to eighth duty cycle to give it that little pluck. And then I'm using these pitch bends and L commands, to give it a little more, fluid sound like an actual guitar solo. So just to scoop from D into the E, starting on D with a pitch bend up, and then the L command slides into that note and then stays on it. And then the vibrato, gives it a little character as well. All right, and then the next two measures, we have this sound. So that is kind of the opposite. If we look at the table, that's going from the 1/8 duty cycle to 1/4 to squared wave. So it's another kind of pluck, just kind of the opposite. And here you hear, if you've ever seen the kind of pitch bend echo technique, the way you do it is you just keep repeating the same note with the pitch bend. So here we have, the G, and then it pitches down, and then it goes back to the G and pitches down again. And this is all while the note is fading out. That do 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 do. Kind of simulating an echo sound. All right, then the next two measures, we have this sound. All right, and that's the same as the first sound, except now on the table, I add this octave transposition and groove to 2 ticks. So it's, I guess this would be every 32nd note triplet. We're going up an octave and then back. So you get this sound. And I'm using these E commands to give each kind of phrase a little shape. And then the last part, we have this, which is, again, taking that 1/8 duty cycle into square wave, but adding the octave transpositions to it. And lots of E commands to shape here. And ending with the C command to end on a chord there. All right, so that's the solo lead in the second pulse channel. In the first pulse channel, we have exactly the same thing, except we start with this G command, and this groove I set to C. So what that means is this first frame is going to be held for 12 ticks instead of 6, and then we go back to the default groove. But for everything after that, this channel is going to be 6 ticks behind. It's going to be 1/16th note behind. So we get like a little delayed sound. And then the instruments are the same, except I make them a little quieter, pan them just to one side so that you can see the first instrument here is panned right. And I use this pulse fine-tuning parameter, which just detunes the note slightly, so we get a little bit of a chorus effect. So when we hear those together, it sounds like this. And yeah, you could hear that there, how out of tune that is. Compared to the lead. So that was probably the part I had the most fun with programming in there. All right, just a couple other things to show you in this one. Before the final chorus, let me see if I can add this. I do this cool kind of build up to that. So let me play this part. All right, so this sound, is supposed to sound like, a bomb blowing up or something. So in the wave channel, we have this sound. And what that is this is that same synth from the beginning, the triangle wave, the sawtooth synth. And just the table I'm running is just up a chromatic scale, groove of 3 ticks, so that makes it 30-second notes. And then at the end, this pitch command, what that does is it continues following the table, going up the chromatic scale, but now after the pitch command, each note, it's going to be bending the pitch up, so you get this kind of bubbly sound. And I just kind of stumbled upon that by accident, but now that I've heard it, I kind of recognize it in a lot of different game soundtracks and chiptune pieces to get that kind of effect. All right, the noise channel we have. So what that is, the shape parameter. If you remember, if you've seen my noise channel tutorial, the second digit, if you set it between 0 and 7, you get that short noise, the more metallic sound. So I'm going to use that. And then on the table, we're just following the transposition down and then back up. This is one of the reasons I don't use the transpose parameter for noise instruments anymore, is whenever you use an E command, it resets it. So after this E command, I reset it back to 0, so it's a little hard to keep track of. But I wanted to have the sound kind of fading out and then coming back up. All right, and then the pulse channels are just doing a chromatic scale in thirds. So this table, and groove 03 means 30-second notes. So the pulse channels are going just straight up like that. So altogether, those sound like. So I was pretty excited when I kind of stumbled upon that sound for this. All right, last part I want to show you guys is the final chorus. Go into this kind of punk, pop punk kind of sound. So we get. All right, so that is in the wave channel. Just quarter notes from this kick bass instrument. On the noise channel, it's just going from the crash to the snare sound over and over. Just like a punk band drummer would do. First pulse channel, doing these arpeggios. And so what those are, this is just my lead instrument 0, going back and forth from the left lead to the right lead. And the table is just going up arpeggio, so root, third, fifth, next octave, root, third, fifth, next octave, root, third, fifth, and then back down. It's doing those. And then the first pulse channel, this is our brass section again. Playing octaves, and then ending with the pulse channels doing those 16th notes in thirds. That happens in a bunch of different places. And then the very end, I have this fade out. So you can hear the voice synth instrument there on the wave channel. Like we talked about before. And I should also add, this is a case where I use the E command on the wave channel just to get a fade out. Then on the noise channel, this sweep. And here I do actually use the sweep command in the table. So you can see we're sweeping up three, and then repeating that 3 times, and then sweeping back down. And if you want to understand a little more about how I use these sweep commands with the noise channel, again, check out that noise channel tutorial. On the pulse channels, we have this arpeggio, and now adding the O command to go back and forth between the right and left left channel, so we're bouncing back and forth. The only thing annoying about that is that O command makes a pretty loud click, especially as you get softer. It seems like the clicks get louder as the note gets softer. And in the other pulse channel, we get, that's just that brass instrument, and now it's fading out. So that's the whole track. I hope you guys got something out of this. Maybe learned a couple new tricks. If you want to look at it a little more in depth, the LSDJ.SAV file comes with the album on Bandcamp. So if you buy on Bandcamp, you can download that save file and check it out. Let me know in the comments if you like this, and if you want to hear more. If there's a particular track from the album you want me to do a walkthrough of, please comment, subscribe, like. Let me know if this is something I should keep doing. And thanks so much for watching.